Imagine this scenario. Your friend comes to you, all excited, flaunting her new dress. But you don't think her dress suits her. In fact, you suspect she couldn't have found anything worse. Question: what do you do in this situation? Do you tell the truth? Or you do try to be nice and polite and say that she looks gorgeous? The question whether one should or should not lie has been one of the great interests to moral philosophers for centuries, even millennia. And as you would expect, different thinkers and philosophers have come up with different answers. There are different categories or different kind of sets of answers that you can find. But broadly speaking, there are only two or three categories of answer that make a strong case, and we are going to examine these cases. The first answer is that lying is always wrong. The philosopher Immanuel Kant argued that lying is always morally wrong. And to make his point clearer, he suggested there are two reasons why he considered lying wrong. First is, lying corrupts the most important quality of your human being, that is, your ability to make free and rational choices. Because every time you tell a lie, it damages your moral worth. Second, your lies rob others of their freedom to choose rationally. When you tell a lie, you're misleading someone to do something that you want them to do instead of letting them make their own choices. So in that case, lying is pretty much like stealing, except in this case, you're taking away the other person's freedom, which is really a big crime in Kant's view. Now, to counter this view, one example that often comes up is that of a murderer or a serial killer who comes at your door, knocks the door, and asks the location of your friend who is probably hiding in one of your rooms. And what do you do in that case? Do you tell the truth and let your friend die? Or do you lie in that case and save your friend's life? Kant's answer, as you would expect from a philosopher, it does not change. To him, lying still remains, even in this case, morally wrong. Now, this sounds a little disturbing, right? But we have to remember where Kant is coming from. He sees every individual as an independent moral agent, and he wants everyone to bear the burden of their own choices. The other point worth noting here is that if we don't draw a strict line between the truth and lies, we may fall into the trap of telling a lie whenever we feel convenient. But Kant is very clear here. Now, let's move on to the next answer that we get, which is more pragmatic, and pretty much most of the people subscribe to this idea. That is, lying is sometimes acceptable and even necessary. This makes sense, right? Considering the pragmatic scenarios we face in our day-to-day lives. Philosophically speaking, the idea here is that we use lying as a tool to achieve greater good. In the above-mentioned example of a serial killer, we can use a lie to save our friend's life. This argument or this particular view can be found in many ancient philosophies. It is there in Plato's Republic, and it is there in Eastern philosophies of Mahabharata. Plato says that some lies are really good, and he calls them noble lies. These are the lies that governments have to tell the people for their own good, just like sometimes parents have to tell certain harmless lies to their children. And there is really nothing wrong in that. Now, we have these two philosophically different arguments here. But let's come back to our life. Let's come back to that original question. And what should you say to your friend about that dress? Should you just lie and be nice, or should you be upfront and tell the truth? In this case, Sam Harris's views can be helpful. There's a short book, in fact, you can call it long essay, called Lying. Sam Harris discusses the troubles that come with lying. On the one hand, he acknowledges that lying would be justified in certain cases, such as when it comes to saving the life of your friend. But on the other hand, he says one must remember the cost of telling a lie at all times. So he understands that lying, on the one hand, can do some useful things, but morally speaking, it still remains apprehensible. It comes at a particular cost. So, for example, when you tell a little white lie just to be polite or avoid conflict, it may lead to distrust in the long terms. I'm going to quote him. He says, "To lie is to sacrifice our integrity and to place the possibility of deep and meaningful bonds with fellow humans at risk." But that's not the only problem with lies. Sam Harris suggests that at the same time, the lying may cause trouble to our own minds as well. Telling a lie, although even a small one, it often means that we have to repeat it again and again by weaving more lies around it. This whole process simply adds to the psychological burden. And in the end, only two things happen. Either our web of lies gets caught, or we continue lying endlessly. In both these instances, Harris says that we remain miserable. Truth liberates us, while lying bogs us down. What is the right thing to do then? What can we understand from philosophy here? Well, the lesson seems to be we don't have to make a choice between the truth and politeness. We can tell the truth politely. So when your friend asks you about her new dress, you give your honest opinion in such a way that she does not feel bad and instead understands your point of view to make better choices. And she continues to trust you for your honesty in the future as well. I hope that would be useful. But somewhere in my mind, I feel that intuitively you already knew this.